Good morning, everybody. It's Saturday. Now, for those that aren't a mobile DJ, especially in the wedding industry, some just don't know that you have to get up pretty early. You have a lot of things that has to happen even before you get to the event place, and even before then, it's prep and all that. Matter of fact, let's go back to Thursday. Well, here's what I'm typically doing. Sometimes it's a Tuesday, sometimes it's a Thursday, but this is exactly what I'm doing, sitting here in front of my computer, going through everything. I have my external drive loaded up, pulling songs off of that if it's not on my local drive. I've got Serato in there, shooing files in and out. I've got Jacobs, which is my tagging software, so if I'm bringing stuff in, I can automate some of the process. I've also automated the process as well with Serato, so when I first load things up, I load up a script that sets up all my folders for the event, and it saves me a little bit of time having to recreate everything. But this is what I'm typically doing. Tedious, just every song, make sure everything's there. Now that I've gone back to Serato from Virtual DJ, one additional thing I'm doing is making some pre-mixes for dinner or cocktail. Now, I'm not going to do it for everything. Like for this particular client, he had a lot of show tunes and a really eclectic mix that I normally wouldn't play at typical other events. So I'm just going to do my normal straight run through on that. But then if I have something like for dinner, I know that they had kind of a like of R&B, some soft rock, all that. So I've got a couple mixes that I've made. And one of those mixes I actually just finished up for a true soft rock kind of Air Supply and America, a couple others that really kind of fit that almost kind of yacht rock, but not quite. I'll throw them all in Ableton. I will level everything out so everything just is at this just perfect level, so I'm not having to worry about things being too low or too high. Mix out some songs a little early if they have a really long trail, or if they have a really long lead up. But this is my typical, spending a couple hours at least going through all my notes, tweaking everything, and staging for my event. But now it's Saturday, and now I have to get all my stuff that's inside my house into my van. Now, previously, and you've seen some videos on this, I would roll out all my stuff onto my deck and then throw it into my van. And that worked great for years, but as things kind of accumulate, it just started getting a bit messy upstairs, and then adding my additional sub into it, it just became too much to try to squeeze into that little space behind my vinyl collection. So I moved everything downstairs. I'm going to give you a really quick tour of what I've been doing with all that, and a lot of this stuff ends up having to go into the van. So for starters, I've got my my little battery charger here. I went to Panasonic rechargeable batteries. I was using Duracell Pro Cells for a very long time, but I had always been concerned about just the life of the battery with a rechargeable. A couple of people turned me on to the Panasonics, and so far they're working pretty good. I'll have a video on that eventually. With that, I also just rack everything out. These are all just my standard stuff, just cables and connectors and just everything that I've had. I tried to separate out nicely. Wish the lighting also was a little better in here. It's a real mix of just oddball lighting. It's a small basement, or at least a small head clearance. Luckily, I'm not too tall.
Here. Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I make do with what I do. I've got my 8 lab lights. I keep them up here all the time so I can flip them open, charge them when I need to. There's actually a 4-way power outlet right there. I have my projector, which I finally had a nice projection last week. I very seldom get those inquiries. Hopefully I'll get a few more as time goes on. I've got one of my old effect lights that I honestly haven't used probably in 4 years now. Below, I will keep my UPSs. I've got my sandbags. The sandbags are for the Maui 5 Goes. As some people may have recognized from an earlier shot I had this year, one of my Mauis fell over with a nice little breeze. It was really damn windy, and the center column, the filler column, had broken. And I can't stress enough, if you do go for the Maui 5 Goes and you're using them, especially in ceremony or cocktails on the outdoors, and you get some breeze, they are very light on the bottom, and they're very, I wouldn't quite call them top heavy, but they have a lot of balance up here that can, sway back and forth. So get some sandbags. I think they were like 15, 16 bucks. I got some newer. I don't even know what the name is, but I think it's called Newer. I got those, and it worked just great. So on top of all that, I've got my mic case, I got my SKB, all four, and I always bring them. Like today, it's just a reception, but I'll always bring my ceremony rig as well. One, just in case if the client ever changed their mind, and I have had that happen a few times, where I get a last minute ceremony request. But more importantly, if I happen to have a failure with my reception rig, I can always pull the ceremony rig and swap that out. So I'm always worried about backup and disaster recovery. I've got my two main carts over here. I've got my rock and roller that has been designated for home use only. The front support kind of starts swagging down a little bit. The wheels bend down a little, so it's really hard to navigate, but at least keep everything on wheels so I can usher things along. I've got my Rain 62, my Rain 12s. I've got my sub behind and my LD subs on top. And then I've got my everyday cart, my Mover 6, throw all my bags on there, my EV50s and its tops, my cable bags, everything else basically goes on that. Besides all that, I've got my miscellaneous things, my table, my custom facade that was made for that. I've got some mic stands. I've got my Newmark NS7 III that I probably won't use for a while because of my shoulder. It is improving, but to hold 75 pounds way outstretched, it's probably still going to take some weeks, maybe even a few months before I'm finally back up to 100% in that regard. It was always not the nicest thing to have. It's nice to have just one unit, but definitely hard to lug around at times. But I get to throw the majority of all this equipment out to my van, so let's do that. All right, everybody, I'm on the road now. I'm traveling north past Albany. That's actually a little bit past where I normally would go. Typically, I'm around an hour radius from my location, so that's usually about Albany north of me. Going down south, it's like Tarrytown, getting into Westchester County and whatnot, out into the Catskills, some areas of western Connecticut, Massachusetts. But today I'm actually going to Saratoga Springs, which is actually not too far away from where I used to live. I grew up for quite a bit of time as a kid up in an area called Mineville, Witherby, Port Henry, Mariah area. That was my stopping ground for quite some time. So shout out to the 518. And, heading back up there today. I hope this is not of a sign to come. This was a little bit of a surprise shower, but hopefully this is just an anomaly for the day. We're here at Muzan House today. It's actually a fairly small wedding, 35, 36 adults. But as you can see, I got everything squeezed in still. One speaker, I only need the one EV for upstairs. I actually have my Maui 5 Go downstairs. Beautiful breezy day. We're actually on top of a restaurant, and it's a nice open area, so it's like 75, 80 degrees outside and a nice cool breeze blowing in, so extraordinarily beautiful. This day should be fun. Again, small weddings, and there's love, small, large, it doesn't matter. It just keeps it fun, really, to keep on switching it up and getting different perspectives, different sections of whether it's older couples getting married for a second or third time, or younger couples who are getting married for the first. Super large venues, super small restaurants, doesn't matter. All that makes it fun. Alright, it's just a little past 11:30. I finally arrived home, and tonight was a great night, and actually a really great example of, you don't always have to have a banger party to have a successful night. So tonight was 34, 35 adults, a few kids, very small space. This is a restaurant that was up on a higher floor, so a little bit of extra work, to get everything set up. Couldn't, wheel my cart to go in. And it was a fun night, not, everybody danced all night long. We had, a few bouts of dancing here and there. The ending of the night, I did mostly a slow kind of cocktail kind of vibe again. And that's what the clients wanted. And that's something I like to stress, especially for some DJs who really just focus on, I'm not successful if it's, a not big dance party. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a banging dance party. I love when everybody's up on the floor, everything's filled, and everybody's just grooving to everything that's going on for the night. But the flip side is, not every night has to be a banger. Not every night, not every couple wants that kind of vibe. So, just always go with the flow. Always think of how the crowd's reacting. If people really aren't getting up to dance, are they, nodding their heads? Is there other things you can do, like slow dances, bring it to a cocktail vibe again? Something that will work in your favor and make everything really great for the night. So I'm about to head to bed. It's been a real long night, especially with the extra drive coming home. I hope you liked this gig log video, and I'll see you next time.